month is our prosperity month, and we are using this book, Dare to Prosper. I invite all of you to buy this book. It's great. I'm going to be telling you what's in every chapter. There's 4 chapters, and we're going to study 1 chapter every week. However, there's some great affirmations in here. She has wonderful affirmations for everything that I'll be talking about. So if you want those affirmations or want to tweak some of the ones that she has for you, it's a great book. Do you know that this book was originally copywritten in 1983? That's over 30 years, okay? And it is still a classic. It's written by Catherine Ponder. She's a Unity minister, and she has been the queen of prosperity and unity for years and years and years, because the things that she teaches are basic principles, and those principles never change. So even though the book was originally printed 30 years ago, it still works today. So I want you to really consider purchasing the book and working with it, as I'm going to invite you to do. What's really interesting is that Catherine Ponder, as well as Charles Fillmore, as well as all of the New Thought leaders of churches that came about in the 1900s, they were all taught by Emma Curtis Hopkins. And she was truly one who embraced prosperity. Emma Curtis Hopkins was a woman in the early 1900s who was very, very wealthy. In fact, she stayed in a hotel. She liked to live in a hotel because she wanted her sheets changed every day and her towels changed every day, and she loved the service and the room service and whatnot. She was incredibly prosperous. She taught Charles Fillmore and Myrtle Fillmore. She taught Ernest Holmes, who started religious science. She taught the Brooks sisters, who started divine science. She taught all of those great, wonderful thinkers, and one of the things that she taught was prosperity. And she was prosperous. And she used to say this: if you want to take my class, you're going to have to pay for it. And her classes were very expensive. If you couldn't afford her class, and you came to her and you were whining a little bit about the fact that finances weren't that great, could she make it, da-da-da-da-da-da. You go out there and you get your prosperity consciousness in order, and when you're ready and get the money, then you can come and take my class. So she did not listen to any of the I don't have it, I don't know how to do it. You do have it, you do know how to do it. Go out there and do it and dare to be prosperous. I mean, she was just a no-nonsense kind of lady, and that's what Catherine Ponder is as well. This is no-nonsense kinds of things. These principles work if you embrace them. And if you're not embracing them and you are whining about your finances, we're not going to listen. Because you have to embrace the principles and move into them because they work. And the first wonderful principle is, God is my source. It's so beautifully stated today in our Unity of the Heart by Nancy. It's all about God is our source. We sometimes want to think about where does the money come from, and where is it this and that, and why is, when we look at our employers and want to have a raise, or we look at this and want to have this change and all that, but we forget that God is our source. And when we really embrace that, prosperity abounds. How can you possibly conceive of lack when you embrace that statement that God is our source? When you think about the immensity of the creation of God. Just think of the immensity of all of creation, of our world, of our universe, of the universes that exist. There's just so much creation. And when we say that God, the creator of all, is our source, how can we not think incredible prosperity? It is infinite. It is infinite if we can open up to that. There's no limits to God. With God, there's nothing is impossible if we can open up to that belief. Robert Ketchum tells of a Sunday school teacher who asked a group of students if anyone could quote the entire 23rd Psalm. Now, a lot of kids raised their hands, but there was a little 4.5-year-old girl who was among them. And, the teacher was a bit skeptical and asked, can you really cite the full 23rd Psalm? And the little girl came up to the front of the room and she faced the class. She said, yes, I can. And she made a little perky bow. And she said, the Lord is my shepherd. That's all I want. And she bowed again and sat down. That may be the best interpretation of the 23rd Psalm. But it's what we are about. The Lord is my shepherd. The Lord is my source. God is my source. That's it. If you can embrace that, you can embrace anything and everything about what we are going to be talking about today. Charles Fillmore, the first page of this book, says this: law of supply is a divine law. Law of supply, all that we have is available to us, is a divine law. This means that it is a law of mind and must work through mind. In other words, prosperity must come through prosperous thinking. We have to believe in God as our source. We have to believe that we deserve this prosperity. So how do you think prosperity when you are not being prosperous? I get that question all the time. How can I think about being prosperous when I'm not prosperous? How can I think of being healthy when I'm not healthy? And it is the paradox of new thought that we do not attend to the conditions, but that we attend to our consciousness. And that is one of the difficulties that we have to work with, because it's contrary to what we're taught in our culture. But we can change that. You can change the way you think about things and open up. So the goal for this month is to create a prosperity consciousness. For each one of you individually, if you are willing to commit. Thank you, Nat. Willing to commit. You're willing to commit to your prosperity. You're willing to commit to do what is being asked of you to do. Are you willing to buy an $8 book and listen and read to what she has to say and embrace these basic principles that have worked for people all around the world for over 30 years, 50 years, 100 years? She offers 4 steps. Okay, these 4 steps you've heard before. You're going to hear them again. And the more you hear them, the more you might be able to embrace them. But now this month, say, I'm going to do this. I'm going to take these steps and move forward. Step number 1 is create a vacuum. Okay? We understand that vacuum, that, when we create a vacuum, things move in and step in. So, clean out your closets. Get ready for our yard sale. It's coming up. The YU has a yard sale every year, so clean out your closets, bring things in. This is critical to do, to get rid of clutter, to get rid of things that are holding you. Do you know that things take energy? Things take energy. The more things you have, the more energy it consumes, and the less energy then you have to really create that which you so desire, because you're hanging on to the things. So it's really important to do that. Feng Shui says that every time you move things, change things, you change the energy. And when you do that, you're changing your consciousness. So it works. It works. I one time cleaned out my closet, and I really did. I did a real serious cleaning. Matter of fact, I gave away most of my clothes. And I all of a sudden got up one morning and went, no, I need to wear. I mean, I was really serious about this. I cleaned it all up. I thought, well, this is really interesting. Okay, I have this vacuum. Okay, and I said, God is my source. God is my source. The next day, a good friend of mine says, hey, I'm going down to this special sale that they have here once a year at this place, whatever. And I said, okay, I'll go. I said, see what happens. And they had all kinds of clothes there. Okay, and they had one woman who had donated an incredible wardrobe in my size. So I bought pants for $4, and tops for $3, and dresses for $5, and it went on and on and on. I spent $100, and my closet was full. Just like that. It works. It works, you know, and in such an incredible way. God is my source. Oh, you bet. I was so excited. It happens. It does work. So one of our affirmations, and this is important because what we have to do after we do the cleaning out the closets and cleaning up the yard and starting to really get into the spring cleaning mode is to get into spring cleaning of the mind. Okay? What are you thinking about? What are you focusing on? Remember, what you think about, what you focus on grows. So it's a matter of catching yourself, becoming aware. What am I thinking about? And changing that. She has an affirmation also, it's on page 4, and I love this because she talks about we have to release our judgments, we have to release our resentments, release our criticisms, release our unforgiveness. That sometimes takes some work, doesn't it? To really, every day, to say, what are my resentments? What can I release? What can I turn over? Turn over to God. What about my judgments? How can I let go of them? Not only of other people, but of myself. Forgiving others for their transgressions and forgiving yourself so that you really become clean, uncluttered with your thoughts. And then you can affirm, once you get rid of it's like when you have a full closet, you're not going to be able to buy anything more to put in there. It just doesn't happen. But when you clean it out and create the vacuum, it opens it up for new things. So also when you clean out your mind, it opens it up for new thoughts. And you can affirm wellness and prosperity for yourself, for others, even for your enemies, because you have an openness and a wonder to do that. So here's a question for you. What must I release to increase my prosperity? Only you can answer that question. What do you have to let go of to increase your prosperity? What do we have to release to let go of to increase our prosperity? What is it standing in the way? What needs to change in me to bring forth greater prosperity? If you're willing to ask those questions, the answers will come. We might sometimes need to ask, as I have said this many times, what keeps us small? And sometimes we even have to release relationships if relationships keep us small. So no matter what it is, if you ask this question, what do I need to release to become more prosperous? We can do that. Now sometimes a blessing comes forth and God creates a vacuum for us. Okay? What are you being called to do when this happens? It's a great story. I think I've even mentioned this before of Thomas Edison, who one day came home to find that his house was on fire. And everything in his home was destroyed. All of his experiments and everything that he'd been working on, all his papers and all those kinds of things were all destroyed. And what he did is he looked at this fire and he said, now I can start anew. Now I can have new ideas come forth that will really result in the great, wonderful, marvelous inventions that the man did, in fact, in us. Could we do that when all of a sudden everything that we own is gone? We say, a time to start anew. So think about what you have and what kinds of things you can release, what you can let go of. It's an interesting question, and sometimes it's hard to hear the answer, but it can be very, very powerful for you. Number 2, so after you do your cleaning, okay, you did clean out your mind, you start focusing on your mind, you start focusing on your things, you start releasing, then you have to get serious about being prosperous. Just be serious about this. Dare to be prosperous. If you really want to increase your prosperity, attend to it and define it for yourself. Be definite about it. Now, I've talked about this before, and I'm going to say it again. Write down your goals. What do you want? So often we get loosey-goosey about what we want, and then we get loosey-goosey results. Okay? When you get very definite about what you want, specifically, what do you want? Now, you've already asked the question, what do I need to release? Sometimes what you think you want, you've had to release, which is sometimes interesting, but that's why that comes first. And then, what are your goals? What do you truly desire? Can you write down those goals? Now, sometimes people feel, well, I'm not really sure what I want. I need clarity first. I have a friend of mine who, for quite some time, was asking for clarity, and asking for clarity, and asking for clarity. She says, I can't do anything until I get clarity. And I finally said, BS. Okay? I said, just do it, just move, write something down. It doesn't matter, because you know what, you can change it. You can change it from day to day. You can change your mind. You can change your goals. They can evolve. They can change. So you don't have to feel like you are stuck when you write them down. So, and you can always write down a goal and say, well, this or something better. Okay? And it doesn't have to be perfect. Then set a date. Set a date what you want. 1 year ago, almost, maybe even a little bit more, said, I want to get a new car. And I set the date for April 1st, 2014. I got my new car on March 30th. So what happens when you set a goal like that? Well, you start thinking about it. Matter of fact, as the goal was coming closer, I said, oh my goodness, my goal is coming up, whatever. And isn't it interesting that then I started to have problems with my current car? And isn't it interesting that the auto show came up? Okay, and I got to go, and so on and so forth. You see, those things start to happen when you start setting a goal and putting things in motion. Dates will mobilize your energy, and God's energy. I want this by this time. Then that doesn't mean you just sit there and wait. You got to get out there and do your part. This is a partnership. You are working with God. God is your source. And so you have to declare that which you want and into it. I've worked with many, many, many small businesses. And when I work with them and I find out, I say, okay, what are your goals? We don't have goals. Well, then that's where we're going to start. Okay? Because if you have a goal, then you start to mobilize things. People mobilize together and work together. So goals are really important. So you're going to do your goals this week. All right? Write them down and even say them out loud. That's scary. Right? Actually, say it out loud. These are my goals. Declare them. And as you do so, okay, I deserve this. This is good. Declare your prosperity, that which you so desire. Then number 3, and these are progressive. These are in this order. Then you visualize. Then you start to visualize your goal. You take each one of your goals and you see it happening and you visualize it. You create a mental picture. You don't let how it's going to happen in truth. How many times have I said let go of the how? 1,000 times. Okay, so you don't worry about the how, you just see it happening and you visualize it. It's a great story about Steven Spielberg when he was very young. He took a tour of Universal Studios. And so he snuck off the tour and he wrote his name, piece of paper, and he had some tape on it, and he went to one of the studio doors of some great director, and he pasted his name up there over the others with tape. He visualized it. He was very, very young. He knew exactly what he wanted, and he was clear, and he visualized it. And he saw it. And that's what we can do. See what's happening. Use your imaginations. Because as you use your imagination and you see it, you begin to feel it. And as you feel it, you create a consciousness for it. And as you have the consciousness for it, it is done. That is the law. That is divine law. She says, number 4, speak daily your affirmations. She's got a lot of great affirmations in the book. You speak your affirmations, pull something up, speak them out loud, look in the mirror, and do your affirmations out loud. Get your partner together and do your affirmations together and do that. Okay? You know, it's like really speak them and know them and feel them, these daily affirmations. Too often what happens is we want to jump right to affirmations. Right? Well, I don't want to do all that other stuff, but let me do my affirmations. So you say the affirmations, you say the affirmations, and you say the affirmations, and you say they don't work. Mm-hmm. Well, of course they don't work because you haven't done the progressive stuff. You haven't really built your consciousness to be ready for this. First you have to really let go, clean out that mind, get that really clutter out of there, both in your mind and in your life. Truly open up and create that vacuum. And then get clear about what you want. And even if you're not clear, start with something. This is what I want. This day, what do I want? This week, what do I want? This month, this year, what do I want? Whatever that may be. It may be peace of mind. It may be great health. It may be a new car. I mean, you know, it doesn't matter what it is as long as you work at that and work through it. And then visualize it, see it. Take the time to do that. And then when you do your affirmations, that's just frosting on the cake. Yes. That the affirmations are a reminder throughout the day of all the other work that you've done, and it really reinforces that prosperity. And then be grateful. Step number 5 is gratitude. And being in a state of gratitude, and I have said this before as well, but gratitude is the ultimate state of receivership. You are able to receive when you are in gratitude. Now these are perhaps the 5 most difficult steps that you ever can take. And maybe you've taken them before. I'm asking you to take them again, to step into this month of prosperity and to really follow through with it. The book will help you. You will read exactly what I've been talking about in the book. You'll have the affirmations in the book. She has story after story after story of successes, of people using these principles. You'll be inspired by the stories, and you can become more prosperous in all aspects of your life. All aspects of your life. Relationships, health, financial affairs, peace, love, companionship, whatever it is that you so desire, it is yours if you are willing to follow these steps and really do it. And then be persistent. What are you called to do along the way? What are you called to do? What are you called to release? And you know what? Sometimes the steps go back and forth. So you find yourself moving forward and say, oh, all of a sudden this is in my way. I see that. Now I can release this and let it go so that I can be in greater prosperity. And all along the way, you are called and given signs for what you can do, what you should be doing, what you should be working on. It's really important to look at those things. I used to work in business, and I worked for large corporations, and I used to work with a lot of people who were, they asked me to do studies on morale, you know. They were laying off all their people, and they wanted me to do a study on morale. I said, well, I can tell you why they're not happy. It's pretty self-obvious. But I would work with these people in trying to get them to move forward with their lives. It's really interesting. And so many people said, but I'm hanging on because I'm waiting for when I can retire with a pension, when I can retire with my insurance, when I can retire, you know, with those things that I want. Are you happy in your job? No. I'm quite miserable in my job. I don't like my job. I don't like what I'm doing. I don't feel valued. I don't like my employer. I like the people that I work with. Okay? So what would happen is when they lost their job, or sometimes for most of these people, it was the best thing that ever happened to them. A huge vacuum, and in it came opportunities for them to explore and to enhance their lives in ways they never thought possible. I tracked a lot of these people, and it was really interesting. They went into jobs and things that they never thought they would ever enjoy, and they loved it, and it was great. Wonderful things begin to happen when you open up to and release whatever needs to be released. So, get the book. Follow those 5 steps. And if you do that, you will be daring, really daring to be prosperous. I dare you to be prosperous, to really follow through and do this work. It's powerful, it's wonderful, it's divine law. And so it is.